There are three main type of beings in the world. The beings of darkness, the beings of light, and the neutrals. The neutrals are the vast majority. They are like a raw power, a mass of raw force which can be directed and controlled. They are pure soul, but without a connection to spirit. And it's because of the dynamic of how existence works that you have to have spirit and soul working together. You have to have soul, which is power, directed by spirit, which is knowledge. These neutrals, the vast majority, which have only soul, but without a native connection to spirit, they are taking their spiritual knowledge and guidance and inspiration from these two outer poles, outer spirits, the dark spirit or the light spirit. The dark spirit works through human beings which are purely connected to it, and they are what could be described as dark spirits or dark beings. So in this word here we have people which are mainly fully governed by the dark spirit. And likewise, there is also the light spirit. And the light spirit works in this world through people which are almost fully connected to the spirit of light. And they are what could be described as the light beings or light spirits. This is far from being confused with the so-called light workers of the New Age movement, spiritual movement. I have to use words, and I don't have other words to describe. And I have to use words like light and darkness to describe our situation here. But when I'm saying, for example, that there are in the world true light beings, I'm far from referring to the same light being or light worker of the New Age-ish spiritual movement. So both the spirits of light and the spirits of darkness are fewer in numbers, while the vast majority of human beings, they are the neutrals, which they take their spiritual guidance from these two main spirits, outer spirits that exist in the world. So again, the neutrals, they don't have an intrinsic connection to any spirit. They are spiritless in a way. This is why they are like almost like ghosts. This is why they have been called NPCs or Sims. But the fuller picture here is like, yeah, they are in this condition of spiritless. They are like ghosts or puppets in the sense that they don't have their own inner form of guidance. There is no force in them that guides them from within. They have to take their guidance from outside of themselves. And now the fuller picture here is like they are these benign, ghost-like, puppet-like, sim-like beings, but they are pure soul. So that means that they do have power. They are extremely powerful beings. Here in this game and here in creation, they have power because soul is power. So even though they don't have guidance and they don't know how to use their power, they don't have intrinsic guidance, knowing how to use their power, they do have power. But currently, their power is being used by the dark forces, which uses them as fuels. The dark force has seized them and this world and took control over these neutrals, converting them from neutral to darkness. Most of them, they are dark beings right now. Most of the neutrals are dark, extremely darker beings. But the other part of the picture, which is usually not described fully about the neutrals, which have been called in some mediums NPCs or Sims, the other part which is not described nor known about them is like they contain within themselves, all of them, the potential to be, to have their own spirit of light, to have light ignited within them. So they contain within themselves what I've described as the seed of life. But this seed lives within them as a potential. And in order for this seed to germinate, they have to be activated. That seed has to be activated within them. And it can only be activated by a light being. So a light being has to approach them, and through a specific process, the light being is able to pass, let's say, the torch to activate the spark of life, the seed of life within the neutrals. And once this seed of life, this spark of life is activated within a neutral, it's like a fire being ignited. And that's the fire of true spirit. That's the fire of the spirit of light, which starts to burn within them as well from that moment on. And thus, they start to also have the ability to receive guidance from within, from their own spirit of light, which is now ignited within them. So, this is the complete picture, or at least a more complete picture of what's going on. So, the NPCs, the Sims, the neutrals, they are a raw force of creation. They are raw power, but without guidance or knowledge. They are pure soul without spirit. And thus, they can be influenced either in a darker direction and their power used to manifest a darker reality, or in a light direction and their power used to manifest a light and true reality. So these are the beings that can be found in this world. And the so-called war or game is between the light and the dark, and it has always been. The war and the game is between darkness, which has taken hold by now of the majority of the neutrals, using their power without them even knowing, to create many of the realities that darkness needs. And many of these realities, by the way, they are not even known to us. This is just a farm here. We are just in a farm, in a way, in a farm, the farming place. But the power that it is extracted from the neutrals and their energy is used somewhere else, not here. So those words created or whatever, because that power can be used for many things, it's used somewhere else. It's not here. So the darkness uses that power, but not here. We don't see these words created by the darkness. We don't touch or their technologies or whatever they are using that power for. Usually it's a power of creation and manifestation. So it's gonna have something to do with manifesting things and creating things. But usually we don't see these creations here because, again, here it's just the farm. This is just a farming place. So this is why you don't look outside and see, oh, but where are these creations of darkness? Because the world here looks pretty much the same. Yeah, well, I don't feel, as I said, that these creations are manifested and allowed for us to see them. The darkness is taking the power from here, from the farm, from farming these neutrals, and it is taking their power and using it somewhere else, in their worlds, in their dark universes, in their dark worlds, probably creating and manifesting things with it that they need, different tools, weapons, technologies, empires, who knows. This might not even be the only farm. There might be many farms like this one, but this one is important for some reason. uh, on the other hand, there are in the world the beings of light, which they work to influence the neutrals towards the path of light, towards bringing them to the light existence, the light creation. What's light? What is this? Well, I can tell you only what I'm knowing from within and experienced from within. So I see the light as nothing more than the truth of our true reality, which exists outside of this entire simulated realm. So we have an existence outside of this simulated realm, which simulates dark and light, by the way, but it is actually a creation of darkness. This is not a light and dark creation. This is a dark creation which just simulates a light and dark creation. We are inside this dark creation which acts more like a dream. This is why we are all under a hypnosis right now. We are all sleeping right now, in a way. And we are, by this very fact that we are sleeping, and most of us, we are dreaming a nightmare, as it can be visibly perceived. This world is a nightmare. Because we are currently seized by this dark force which puts us under sleep and hypnosis, like you go to sleep at night, we are currently sleeping and we are not being in our true body, in our true reality. So most of these neutrals and everybody here in this experience is dreaming a dream, but this dream is controlled by the dark force, by the darkness of this world, and it is converted into a nightmare. So what light is nothing more than the true light. I mean, it's not a fake light. Again, I have to state this clearly because there is so much confusion around these terms and what they mean. Here, in this dream of darkness, there is a simulation of both light and dark. So we have what has been described by others as the light of the darkness. Here in the dream, we have a simulation of light. We have a simulation of goodness, of pleasure, of pleasurable things. But even these things, they are not the true light because they are not reality. They are still contained within this dream as pleasurable or enjoyable or ecstatic experiences, but contained within this dream. We are still asleep. We are still under the darkness. So when I say light, I mean the true light, which is our true, sovereign, fully lucid, real experience of ourselves outside of this dark dream and outside of any dream. We are just fully awake, fully aware, being who and what we truly are, independent of what that is. That's true light. True light means true sight, true knowledge over oneself. So the beings of true light, the pure beings of true light, the pure spirits of light, they are here in this dream of darkness, coming to act as, let's say, initiators, one, igniters, two, and three, influencers, which are just one and the same, for the neutrals which are captured here in this dark dream created by the dark force. The neutrals cannot escape this dream on their own. They have zero ability to escape the dream on their own just by the very design of how this entire game is constructed. The neutrals have to be initiated. They have to have their seed of life within them, which lives within them as a potential, ignited, initiated by a true spirit of light. They have to have that fire ignited within them, and that ignition can only happen by a spirit of light igniting that fire within them. Otherwise, in the absence of this initiation, in the absence of this ignition, they are fully controlled by the spirit of darkness, which is using them for their power and keeping them stuck and locked here in this dark dream, farming them for their energy. The darkness has zero interest to initiate or ignite the spark of life within a neutral. Because that would mean the neutral would now become a being of light. And the being of light, again, means nothing more than a being which starts to remember who and what it really is outside of this entire simulated creation. With all of its realms, by the way, because this dark creation that we find ourselves in, this dream, this cosmic dream, has so many layers. It is really complex. It is a multiverse of dimensions and realities and stories and universes and worlds. So the dark creation is really complex. The dream, this cosmic dream, is really complex, layered. but a being, a neutral, which is being initiated, which is having its seed of light ignited, which acquires a living spark of life within it as of this initiation, is now remembering through the spirit of light which comes from outside of this entire dark dream and comes from full lucidity. The spirit of life lives, still exists in full awareness and lucidity outside of this dark dream. And when a neutral is initiated in the spirit of light and has the spirit of light ignited within it, that's when something in it, an instinct, a new force, starts to make the neutral remember another type of existence which exists outside of this entire cosmic dream, which is nothing more than our true existence in reality. So a neutral which has acquired the spark of life, which has had its seed of life ignited within them, and now has the spark of life burning within it, is also able to find its way slowly and gradually towards the world of true light, which again is nothing more than the world outside of this entire dark cosmic dream. But once a neutral is initiated and its spark of life starts shining and burning within it, at first that spark is gonna be really weak. It's gonna be really weak. It's gonna be just like a tiny, tiny flame which has just been ignited. And it's easy, sometimes, it might be easy for that spark to be, let's say, extinguished down once again. That being is never going to forget what life and light and fire, the fire of life, truly means. Once it has been touched by this fire, it's gonna always find its way towards it and search for it, because it can never forget it from that moment on. But that fire can become so extinguished sometimes that it just remains like a heated coal, like a red coal, rather than an actual fire. So this is why at the beginning stages, when a neutral is being initiated and its spark of life is being ignited within it, it's recommendable and of outermost importance that this neutral continues to remain in the presence of a true light being, of a true spirit of light. It is of outermost importance for these neutrals that are becoming initiated and their seed of life is being ignited within them, to remain close to that initial source, to the source of true light, to a being of true light, and just keep closer to it for a longer period of time before this neutral can start, let's say, walking on its own through its own true spirit and learning the internal mechanism necessary to prevent that flame, to protect that flame and prevent it from being extinguished so easily, because the darkness is working to extinguish that flame in the neutrals by all means. So don't think that if you have been initiated as a neutral and now you have the spark of life, the fire of life burning within you, then you're done. Because the darkness is gonna work assiduously, consistently, to extinguish your fire, your spark of life, to make you asleep once again. So you're gonna have this immense pressure on you once your spark of life is initiated within you. This is why you need to remain close to a being of true light, to take influence from a being of true light and seek just to be in the presence of that being, just to take light from that being which acts like a powerful sun, by the way. These beings of true light, they don't necessarily only have the spark of life burning within them or of flame, they are living suns. They are powerful living suns. This is how powerful, let's say, their inner fire is. And this is why the neutrals, once they have been initiated, it's of uttermost importance to keep connection, to keep close to one of these powerful light beings, true spirits of light, until their flame and their spark starts growing more and more. And then when it starts growing more and more, they can depart more and more, they can venture off more and more from the influence of this true spirit of light. Because as their inner fire starts growing, and as they learn the mechanics of work, internal work necessary to protect their flame, and to grow it and protect it within, as much as they can start venturing off on their own, let's say, experiencing life on their own with this newfound spark of life now, which makes a completely different experience of life for them. And through the experiences that now they are having with this spark of life, they can grow that fire of life within them. But they have a lot of learning to do of how to work with light, how to work with the spark of light that they now possess, and how to work to use these experiences here in the dream world to convert them, and not convert, but use these experiences here to grow their inner fire. It's a lot of learning for the neutrals, and much of this information does not exist right now in this reality. Much of this information that the neutrals it would be like paramount for them to have, it's inexistent. This type of education, which they needed so much, it's inexistent in this reality. And thus they are continuing to be freaking controlled and tortured by the dark forces, which is just using them for their power. There is so much need of true information given to the neutrals. I will add another thing. From a higher perspective, I'm describing things now from a higher perspective, laying out a bit of the outlines of how things look from a higher perspective, and what this experience here, this world, this game looks like from a higher perspective. So from a higher perspective, there is this feminine being. She is a true eternal being, which comes from the world of light. And right now she's going through a sort of form of rite of passage. She has agreed to go through her own form of initiation. She has accepted to drink a certain type of poison. She has accepted this darkness to invade her. As a sort of like experiment in which both this dark force and herself, in a way, would, let's say, grow and evolve together. And this feminine being, which is the pure soul, the soul of the world, has allowed herself to be invaded and taken over and conquered by a really dark force. They took seize of her, so they took seize of the soul of the world. She put herself to sleep And this is the dream that we find ourselves in. We are in her dream. She is the soul from which all the souls of the world come from. She is the source. That is being spoken about in all these new age teachings, or wherever you find this notion of the source, that we are all one and we are all coming from one and we are coming from the same source. They are all speaking about her. And they are only describing a part of the bigger picture. Because when they say that we are all one, they refer to our souls. So they refer to the level of the soul. The souls here in this creation, indeed, they do come from a singular soul, which is the soul of the world, which is her. She is the one which sleeps and dreams right now, and she is being invaded by this poison in her body, like a cancer, like a virus, which works against her, works to destroy, eat her up, and destroy her. The task from her side is to learn to transmute the poison. The task from the poison side is another one. They have a task on their own. For them, the task is learning about love. I know this sounds abstract, but this is all what I can describe right now. So, from a higher perspective, all the neutrals from this world, they are nothing more than fractals, soul fractals of a singular soul, which is the soul of the world, which is this true feminine being. And our entire creation here is actually only her experience. We are inside, all of us, we are inside a feminine being which goes through this form of rite of passage or her own initiation. In the world of light, there are many beings similar to this feminine being. So in the world of light, she's far from being the only one existing. But for us here, she is the source of everything. And for us here, she is the source of we are all one. So all the neutrals, all the souls of the neutrals, all their souls, they come from her. And everything in this reality has soul, because everything is made from her. So not only human beings have souls, but animals have souls, plants have souls, minerals have souls, objects have souls, the sky has soul. It's just like absolutely everything has soul. Again, soul is creation. Soul means power of creation and manifestation. So everything that it is created and manifested is done so through soul, through the soul. So everything that can be perceived at any levels, doesn't matter if we perceive it with our physical senses or with our extrasensorial senses, the metaphysical senses, as much as it can be perceived, it has soul. So even our ideas have soul, even a piece of music has soul. Everything that can be perceived in this experience has soul. Because everything is a part of her. she is the original being from which everything is created from. And right now, she is being seized. She is under an attack. She is being tortured and deformed. She is being turned into something which she is not. That's what distortion and deformation means. It's to take something and contort it, morph it, distort it, depart it from its original form. And she suffers whenever any form of distortion is applied upon her. She suffers tremendously, an incomprehensible form of pain that she then has to learn how to transmute and reshape herself back to her original form. That's one of the things that she is learning. So the dark force is here as an agent of torture towards her, a poison. The dark force is here to use her and her power and create unnatural things out of her. This is how they extract, they use the neutrals, which is nothing more than their own, it is her own being, basically. The neutrals are coming directly from her. Pure souls without a spirit. This is why the dark force, it is using the neutrals to extract their energy and to use their energy to create dark and unnatural realities, because these dark and unnatural realities that the dark force creates is nothing more than, from a higher perspective, works at nothing more than contorting and distorting this higher true feminine being from her original form. So every creation of darkness is a creation of distortion, an unnaturality, and a contortion, a deformation of this original true feminine being. This is why they create their worlds of and universes of darkness, of unnaturality, just to act as a torture towards her. So if we come back again here to our level, now we understand even more the bigger picture. Now we understand that all these neutrals, they are nothing more than fractals from this original soul, the soul of the world, which is her. And they are raw power, because it is her. She is this raw power. They are just raw power, but without knowledge, without spirit. They are just fractals of her, all of them. Pure souls, pure fractals of her. And as much as she is tortured, they are tortured. So this is why nobody can escape the torture of the world. Because if anybody else in existence, any other soul in existence suffers, all the souls suffer. Because all of them, they are nothing more than fractals of her. So if even one cell in her body is affected by a cancer and suffers, her entirety suffers. So if her entirety suffers, all the souls in existence suffer. So this is why there is no such thing as finding personal enlightenment or reaching union with God or escaping the matrix on your own. It's because if any other soul in existence is still here under the influence of the darkness, being tortured by the darkness, suffering at the hands of darkness, you yourself, you're suffering at the hands of darkness. Because all of you souls are just fractals of a singular soul, which is her, again. I'm just mentioning this and making these distinctions because what I'm saying in some portions sounds similar to what has been said in various spiritual teachings or New Age teachings. and I'm trying to repeat the same things just to make them clear that I'm speaking of something which sounds similar but in actuality is different. Or it might be just be the same thing that they were speaking about when they were saying that we are all one, but now I'm trying to give the true and more accurate understanding of the entirety of the dynamic of what this truly means. Because, by the way, this was a fault in the New Age spiritual teachings, which were teaching us that we are all one. And I could feel internally there is something wrong with in this, because when I would hear this idea, we are all one, I would feel my internal sense, my internal muscle which twitches when something is wrong, twitching, you know? It's like, oh, constriction. Constriction, inner constriction. Why? I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know what was wrong. And this is what is wrong with this. Our souls are indeed all one, and they are coming from a singular soul. But this is only true from the perspective of the soul. But we are not only soul, we are also spirit, some of us. And even more than this, guys, we are not only soul and spirit, we are actually even something greater than soul and spirit, if that makes sense. So we are all one from the perspective of this current experience and our soul in this experience. And in most of the New Age teachings, when they would say that we are all coming from the same source and that we are all one, it was also silently, most of the times, implied sense of finality. It made us feel like, oh, the source is the ultimate thing in existence and that's where it stops, you know? We are all coming from the source, we are all coming from the one, and that's the source and the final destination of all of us, which is false, by the way. It is true, by the way, and false at the same time, because for the neutrals here, that's actually true. They are just pure souls coming from this original feminine being, and they are all her, and there's nothing more to them than her. But there are other beings here in existence which are something different than her. They are coming from outside of her dream, the spirits of light, which come from outside of her, and they penetrate her in her dream. And these spirits of light, these true beings of light, they come from a true being, another being, which exists outside of this feminine being. So she is not the, let's say, finality of what existence is. There are many other beings like her in the true world of light. Many. We are not all one in this respect of what we are in our true existence in the world of light. She is one of the beings from this world of light, but there are so many other beings in that world of light. But here, because we are in her dream, everything is indeed made from her, and all our souls are fractals of her. So from the perspective of the soul, yes, indeed, we are all one. But that's only happening here. So we have to free ourselves from these false and wrong notions that we are able to find enlightenment on our own, or escape the matrix on our own, or all these even more granular forms of self-help or self-spirituality, which teaches you like, oh, you're the only one responsible to find God, to find enlightenment. You're the only one responsible to for your own evolution as a being. you can only save yourself, you can never save the others. Oh, or stuff like, oh, it's their karma. What happens to them, it's their karma. You should matter your own, you should bother with your karma. Guys, all of this stuff, they are false. Now you understand that we are deeply and truly, all of us, connected through soul. And none of our souls can find liberation or freedom from the matrix unless the entirety of all of our souls are completely restored back to their original form, back to what she truly is. So when there is going to be 0.0000 darkness remaining in her and all the poison would have been transmuted, that's when the entirety of her is going to be able to wake up in her true existence. And that's when all the souls will find liberation together. So if there is any, even one singular soul, which any souls, by the way, they resemble cells in her body. So soul and cell, it's pretty similar from her perspective. If any other soul remains, which suffers at the hands of darkness, at the hands of this poison, at the hands of this enemy, then no other soul is truly free. And it can never be, because she as a whole is not awakened yet. She as a whole has not yet awakened. But what we can do here, in the experience of creation, in her dream, what we can do here is to work to ignite the seed of life within us. To ignite this fire of life within us, which is able to guide us back to our original form, and thus restore her back to her original form. So now you understand that the spirit of light, the true spirit of light, is like her lover, if that makes sense, which is here to offer the guidance through which she can restore herself to her true original form. So what we have to do, especially what the neutral beings here, what's in their hands right now, is to find the spirits of light. Find the spirits of light and start being next to them. Seek them out. Be next to them. And start taking your influence from them. Right now, as a neutral, you have been living, probably not even starting from this life, but from who knows how many eons of time, your soul has been living under an extreme form of darkness. You have been seized by a darkness which you can't conceive of, because it comes from outside of anything that you were previously. It's an incomprehensible form of darkness, and you yourself as a neutral, you'll never have any means to liberate yourself from this darkness unless you start communing, let's say, with a spirit of light, which can give you from its own light and from its own radiance, and thus ignite and initiate your own seed of life within. You can never dispel yourself from this darkness on your own. And all this type of self-help spirituality, which has been teaching basically humanity that they can escape the matrix on their own, that it's up to them to find enlightenment or to liberate themselves, or that their development and their evolution as a soul is only in their hands, has been a falsity, a lie, which in the dark agenda, basically, a psychic operation, a mental part of the same mental war, which is applied to the neutrals here to keep them under the same spell of darkness, and without trying to seek their own liberation, which can only come again for the neutrals. Their own liberation can only start by being activated, initiated, and ignited by a true spirit of light. So for them, their liberation can only happen through another being. It's never through them. So telling them that all they need is just can be found within themselves and they don't need anybody else and all of this stuff, it was just a pure crass lie to keep them, to continue to keep them in the same dark state that they were in, to continue to keep them stagnated. So this is where their own personal ego was just fueled even more, thinking like, oh, I don't need anybody else. I can only do it through myself, which is false. It's false in the sense that it is the opposite. You can only do it through another being. And now, we can even better understand what the mythological or historical, probably, I don't know, figure of Christ was. Now you might be able to better understand that Christ was not necessarily one singular being that came to save humanity. It is the representation of these true spirits of light, which they might be many, but not so many. So Christ is a representation of the true spirit of light, which has came here in humanity, and it is here in humanity. It never left. To save the souls of the world, the souls of the dead and the souls of the living. The souls, basically. It has been said even staggeringly clear. Christ came here to save the soul, the souls of the world, which is nothing more than her, the fractals of her. So Christ is not necessarily one singular being. Christ is some others. Christ has been the beings of true light which are here in humanity, working to guide humanity to the world of true light. That's Christ. And beings in Christ means nothing more than these true beings of light. Well, I would say something else, actually. I would say that I would frame it differently, actually. I would frame it like this, that Christ itself is many beings, but not so many. There are just a few limited amount of them. And these are the beings of true light. And the beings, the neutrals, which are accepting Jesus Christ in their life, or accepting Christ, or being in Christ, the neutrals which are converted to Christ, let's say, they are nothing more than these neutrals which are now having the initiation and the ignition of their own seed of life within them. It's nothing more than a neutral which has been initiated. So a being in Christ is nothing more than a neutral which has now acquired the seed of life, the spark of life, the fire of life, and it has it burning within it. So there is a differentiation here between Christ, the source, the Son, from which this initiation comes from, and then the neutrals which have been initiated and now they carry within them the fire and the flame of life. Those can be called beings in Christ. But Christ as the source, Christ as the Son, which I've explained that these true spirits of light, they are like sons, those ones are a separate thing and they are always gonna be separate. I'm far from saying, by the way, that I enforce the precepts of the Christian religion with what I'm saying here. I'm far from saying that this truly means that the crusades and whatever has been done on this earth to freaking, convert people to Christianism, to Christianity, were justified. That was completely wrong. Again, it was a symbol taken from something which is true, the true form of Christ, the true form of the true spirit of light, and the ability that this true spirit of light has to convert the neutrals into light. This original symbol has been taken and created a false, distorted, again, a dark religion out of it, which was just getting people into more and more darkness rather than converting them to the true light. Because again, darkness has zero interest to allow you as a neutral to convert yourself to the true light. That's game over for a dark being. If it lost power over you, it's dying more and more. Because it only exists through you. A dark being only exists through your own power. And as much as it is able to keep you in darkness and in forgetfulness, as much as it can live, it cannot live without you. Because it all comes, see, this is why true knowledge is so vital to this world. Because once we understand the higher concepts and what happens at the higher, truer, basically, levels of our existence, it's easy to put together so many puzzle pieces, so many scattered puzzle pieces that we have came across here in creation. Now that we understand that at the highest level there is this true original feminine being which has drank a certain poison, and this poison acted like a cancer, and it is infected in her body. And these dark beings only exist like a cancer in her body. They have zero other existence outside of being this cancer attacking her, distorting her, contorting her. And their role is to take pieces of her and distort and contort and manipulate these pieces and make them into something they are not. So this is how they do their dark creations. They take pieces of her, they manipulate her power, the power of those pieces, and create something else which is not originating in her. And as much as the darkness creates these distorted, contorted creations, as much as she suffers a tremendous pain. She's being contorted in unimaginable ways. Imagine somebody coming and taking your hand, and instead of having your natural hand, like this, it would put your hand like this, and it would squeeze it, and it just torture your limbs, and put them like that, and hold them in unimaginable, strange positions, That creates an incomprehensible pain to be contorted in this way. And now imagine a celestial being, an eternal cosmic being, having not only her limbs contorted, but almost like at the level of each cell having this contortion done. It's an incomprehensible form of pain that she is under. And you are under as well, because most and probably you are a neutral. And most and probably you are living with this incomprehensible form of pain, which only comes from her totality. Her totality suffers, and thus unconsciously you are under an incomprehensible form of pain because you are just a fractal of her. So the darkness is going to do everything it can to stop you from approaching a true being of light. Because this is the game, this is how the setup is created. The poison that she drank is gonna do everything it can to be poisonous, to contort and distort her and to make her, suffer and feel all this pain. And thus, the darkness has zero interest for you to cure yourself or for you to find the true light. And it is going to do everything it can to keep you away from true light, including faking light, which has done. Darkness has faked true light. This is what I was saying at the beginning of this video, that inside this cosmic dark creation, we have a simulation of light and a simulation of darkness. Darkness has simulated its own version of light. It's what in other people have been describing it as the light of the darkness. So now you are fooled by the dark light. Now you're fooled by the light of the darkness and you think you found your salvation. You think you found your self-help method. You think you found your guru. You think you found your, methods of personal evolution and you don't need anybody else. That's what the light of the darkness, one of its psyop programs, has worked to make you believe. So that you stay away once again from truly approaching the true light. So ask yourself, have you ever met a being of true light? How does a being of true light looks? How does a being of true light behaves? Are you sure you're able to recognize it? Since everything that you've experienced in all your soul's existence, not only this life, was mainly darkness. How would you know it if you meet it? Where there can be many signs. I'll have to think a bit deeper about them, and maybe I'll expose them in a different video. But you can also try to think, although in my opinion, if you are not, if you haven't been initiated in the spark of life hasn't been ignited within you, you'll have zero chance at really figuring out the answers to these questions. Because you have to have the spirit of light burning within you, and then you can give your own true answers. You can have access to the truth of existence through yourself. But up until that point, it's impossible for you to figure out the truth of this. You're just gonna be swinging back and forth between the false light and the false darkness. And you think you found your answers, but they are never gonna be effective, and you're still gonna be here in creation, dreaming the same dream, nothing changing. So, what the neutrals have to do right now is to seek the influence of the beings of true light. Right now, you as a neutral, you are taking your influence mainly from the force of darkness. You have been, most of you, converted almost fully to darkness. You are mainly a being in darkness. You are not originally that, but you have been converted to darkness, some of you to extensive degrees. Most of you, you are beings of darkness right now. And most of you, you are not initiated. You don't have the spark of life within you, so you are just neutrals which are acting as puppets for the darkness. And you will be surprised because many of you, which you might think of yourself as you have the spark of life within you, you might actually not have it. Ask yourself, can you remember a different way of existence but remember it with some form of more concrete details than this one here. Or is your highest spiritual experience stopping at, ecstatic states of all oneness and merging with God and stuff like this? Do you know of yourself of something more truly real and concretely physical, let's say, but not in this form and not in this entire cosmos here necessarily? How much more do you know of yourself outside of this entire experience here? That's just a first starter. Most of you are neutrals. You are beings which have yet to have their internal potential sparked into existence. Their own seed of life has yet to be ignited. And most of you have yet to have the spark of life ignited within you. This is why, hear my words, seek the true beings of light. This initiation, you can only receive it directly from them. It's a thing which can only be passed through energy onto you. This initiation, you can never find it in a book. The energy of light, the light itself, has to be passed through you like a torch by somebody else, which is able to do this for you. And oh, I can imagine how many false, teachers are gonna raise up or have risen up and all saying like, oh, I can ignite you, I am your savior. Always ask yourself, do I remember more of myself after encountering this guru, this teacher? Have my true memories of myself started to come back? Or I'm only, following this guide, this guru, this teaching, this book for years now. And yeah, I'm getting to more enlightened states of beings, but no true memory of self. Again, it boils down to the same concepts. The true spirit of light is the true knowledge, comes with true knowledge. This is what spirit stands for, it's knowledge, while soul stands for power. If you are going to be initiated in the true spirit of light, in the true form of Christ, let's say, you are going to have the true knowledge of light, of life, coming back to you. So you are going to have true self memories coming back. You are going to know who you are outside of this entire experience more and more. Or you might know things differently through yourself. And I'm far from referring here to intuitions, because everybody can have intuitions. But most of the intuitions, they come from this same cosmic dream here. It's never nothing outside of this dream. It's only the true spirits of light that come from outside of this dream. So even your intuitions, even you can have abstract and beautiful and magnificent intuitions, but your intuitions might pertain to this place here and what happens in it, in this cosmic dream. Nothing more than this. So, what the neutrals need to do right now is to seek the spirits of light, which are very few, and to take their influence, take direct influence from the spirits of light. If you find or you are found by one of these spirits of light, what you need to do is to follow the guidance and the instructions of that being. Unquestionably for you. Unquestionably. You have to put your trust fully in another being. And again, make sure it is a true being of light. Follow that being. Follow its guidance. Whatever that being tells you to do, do it. I know how scary this sounds at first. You have been so violated, you have been so raped by the beings of darkness because you've been following the beings of darkness and they have been raping you and violating you, taking your power basically away from you and contorting you and distorting you in return. That when you hear that you have to do this again and follow again another being and put your complete trust in it and follow its guidance and do what you're told, of course you cringe. That's your own rite of passage there. To learn to trust those ones which are worthy of true trust. And once you find them, to follow that inner whisper of your heart and truly follow their guidance. You have to fully, by the way, believe in these beings of true light. Believe in them in the sense that not as gods or, believe in them in the sense that follow their instructions, follow their guidance. If they tell you some things to do them in a specific way, do them in that exact way. Trust in what they tell you. They can see things beyond this world from an incomprehensible way of seeing things. Because these beings, by the way, of true light, they are seeing you in your original form. And this is why they can specifically guide you to reach again that original form. Because again, what the darkness does is that it contorts this original being and makes her and transforms her into something she's not. So right now, you, because you are seized by darkness, you are a version of yourself which you are not. But a true being of light, it is seeing you in your original form. It is remembering you basically, in how you look in your original form. And it is by just having access to your original form, which you don't, by the way, you have forgotten that, but they do, somebody else is remembering you, and they have access and they see your original form. This is why they can guide you and tell you what you need to do to achieve that original form. So for your sense, this, for example, you might find a being of light and it might tell you like, go and pick apples, go and pick, if you have go and bring me 10 apples, and it might make zero sense for you why you should do that. But this is the quest, you have to go and find those apples and bring them to that being. And then the next instruction that it is given to you, you have to perform it exactly like that. This is how the initiation occurs. You have to follow these beings of true light. Follow their guidance and take influence from them. There is zero such thing as being uninfluenced. Again, I've met, and I feel to emphasize a bit on this because I've met beings which were highly indoctrinated by this dark form of spirituality, angrily shouting like, no, my life is just my own. I am just the only one responsible for my own spiritual evolution and my own evolution as a being. Nobody else should intervene in my process or in my evolution. I'm the only one responsible to save myself, and so on and so forth. Especially emphasizing, I recently went through this experience with a being in my life, which was especially emphasizing the fact that she wants to be free of any influence from anybody, and she wants to direct her life completely through her own intuition and internal sense. And again, this is why I'm speaking, because I know there are going to be many, many, many beings in the same position, because again, this has been the indoctrination of the dark spirituality. Many of you, you are really scared right now, and you have a deep, also arrogance and egotic self preventing you from acknowledging that you are weak, that you are already weak and powerless. You have been driven to complete powerlessness right now by so many, let's say, eons of this dark invasion, and you being utilized for your energy by this dark force. Liniște! Shh! You are really weak right now. You are weak and you have to accept it. And this power that you know it's yours can only come back to you by learning to trust in a true being of light. You can never save yourself on your own. There is zero such thing as self-salvation. So right now, the neutrals which have been... Liniște! Gata! Most neutrals have been right now and are right now under the influence of the dark form of spirituality, which has convinced them of this psy-op operation, dark operation, that they can only save themselves without any influence from anybody else, and that their own evolution, spiritual and personal evolution, is only in their hands. And right now, it has converted them again to fighting against, with kicking and screaming and fighting against the true influence coming from the true beings of true light. So this is why I'm making this recording, one of the motives for it. Because I need to speak to the neutrals here and inform, bring the information that from everything that I've been experiencing and understanding so far, through my own self, remembering through my own self, you as a neutral can only find again your original true form by taking influence from a true being of light. You have to be saved in a way. You have to be found and you have to be saved. So find a true being of light if you can, and start taking influence from it. Some of you might recognize some of these beings which were public figures. Some of them, they were putting out materials here on YouTube. Very few. Just by listening to them, just by listening to their voice, you intake this energy of light, of true light, and this influence. Some of you, you might be initiated in a way just by listening to a being of true light, just by direct transmission of voice, because the voice carries the spirit, by the way, of the other being. So just by listening sometimes to the voice of a true being of light, your true spark of life within can be initiated. But usually it would require some form of deeper process than this. But some initiation can happen directly only and through voice. So this video here is just to bring clarity upon our, like, an overview, clarity upon a more truer dynamic of our existence here, without truly me myself unknowing at this moment what's, let's say, the true solution for the neutrals here. Because the neutrals right now are, the majority of them, completely seized by darkness. And the beings of light, there are very few. And some of them, they might not be public. Some of them, they might not know of themselves yet. I don't know how this is going to play out, or if it's even possible for us, as the totality of the souls which pertain to her, to be restored to our true original and natural form, and thus waking all of us up from this cosmic dream, this dark cosmic dream, this nightmare that we are all under. But I know that the spirits of true light, they are here. They've never left, in a way. They came here specifically for this task. And they are here, and they are working day by day. So I have no idea how this is going to play out. But I know that all the players are here. And this video is mainly dedicated to the neutrals. I was speaking mainly to you guys. Work upon yourself as much as possible to lower the fear of the light. This is what you fear the most. You fear the light. It's the darkness within, which works as instincts within you to make you fear, of course, its enemy, the light. The darkness, of course, has zero interest, as I said, to make room for the light within you. This is why what you fear the most, it's not the darkness, which you are already seized by and living, let's say, in bed with since who knows how long, since the beginning of when your soul has been seized. You are fearing the light because it is created to be so. It is, as I said, at the highest level, an exercise. All of this experience is an exercise of transmuting the darkness, which she is going through. So the darkness within you is created to fight against being converted into light, fight against you being converted into light. So you are going to feel a lot of fear towards the light. You are going to look at the light, a true light being, and sometimes you might see your actual devil, your actual monster, your actual enemy. And in a way, because you're still in darkness, that being, you might perceive that being through the mentality, instincts of darkness, and that being might seem to you literally as your enemy. And it is your enemy at first. Make zero mistakes also about that. But see, this type of enemy, the enemy of light, but basically for you, you have to learn to die for, to allow yourself to be defeated. You have to allow yourself to be defeated by these beings of light. There is zero other way. Because I'm telling you, if you think you're not fighting against the light, you're kidding yourself. Everything in you fights against the light. And what you can do from your side as a neutral is to practice and train yourself to be defeated. To die, basically. You have to train yourself to die, to allow your death to occur, to give up that which you know, value the most, that which seems the most precious to you. You have to be willing to give it off. So for the neutrals, everything in you is fighting against the light. Everything in you would do anything that it can to run away from the light. It is created this way. You have zero power over this. And what you can do is to practice and train yourself to give away that which you love the most in a way. If it's your own existence, you have to learn and train yourself to give it away. If it's anything else, a quality, a skill, anything else, you have to practice and train yourself to be able to let go of it. Ultimately, you have to train yourself to die. Dying is the ultimate form of letting go. And that's what you ultimately need to train yourself in. Because when you are going to be met by one of these true beings of light, they are going to appear to you like monsters, devils, enemies, which are here to kill you. And if you do not have the practice of being able to die, you might fight against them with such a ferocity that it might just postpone, let's say, your own initiation. But if you have this training and you can recognize them and you can see how some parts of you, they have to die, you will allow those parts to die more easily. And thus your own initiation, your own ignition is going to happen more smoothly. We've reached the threshold, guys. There is zero going back after this. We've reached the threshold. Things are going to be clearly spoken and described from now on, and this world that we are under, what has been described as a spiritual war, is going to be fought, let's say, visibly. And clearly. There is going to be zero more hiding about this war and about what is truly happening here on Earth. And now you as a neutral, you might understand that you have a lot of power. You have a lot of power natively. Through your very being, you are a being of power. Because soul is power and you are mainly just a soul. Pure soul. So you have power. But in order to learn how to put this power to proper usage, you also need to have the spirit of light within, ignited within you, so you can have the true direction, the true vision, the true knowledge of how these powers should be used in the correct way. Right now, your power is used incorrectly and it is extracted and used by darkness to fight a war against her. So you have been brought to such a state of let's say, state of conundrum or a paradox, because right now you are fighting against her. You are an agent of destruction, hurting her, torturing her, and ironically and paradoxically, you are her. So this is what a cancer does, by the way. It turns the healthy cells in the body and turns them against the very body they are part of. You, as a cell which has been infected with this cancer, you are right now hurting the very soul of all existence which you are part of. And thus, you are hurting yourself. And the darkness within you cries out to be left alone so that you can continue to hurt yourself. For how long? Like, for as much as you want to. This is what the darkness within you wants. It's for you to be left alone, all on your own device, no more influence, nothing, so you can continue to hurt her, to torture her, as you are currently doing, without realizing. This is why the darkness created this new form of dark psyop operation, which is called the dark spirituality, and to isolate you even more with these concepts of self-help and self-salvation and so on, is to keep you again locked within yourself, where nobody else has access to you than the darkness, so that you can continue to do the same harm upon yourself unchecked. Ask yourself, do you truly want to continue to harm yourself and life in this way? I know it brings you pleasure. I know it makes you feel powerful. The fact that you can hurt yourself shows you at a certain level how powerful you are and that you have power over yourself. And that comes from something true. As it has been revealed, you are a cell of power of life itself, a soul. You have power. Do you truly want to continue to use your power to hurt life? To hurt her, the soul of the world? To hurt thus yourself and the others around you? Again, each hurt that you do upon yourself, it's a hurt that you do upon her, and thus it's a hurt which is reflected to everybody else. You are doing the same hurt to any other soul in existence. It's a pleasure to create this amount of torture and pain, because this is the pleasure that the dark enemy, the virus, the cancer feels, the poison. It enjoys torturing her. It enjoys destroying and contorting and manipulating her, and you are feeling this enjoyment without realizing. You right now, you are enjoying torturing yourself and torturing her. You are literally driving enjoyment. It creates pleasure in you. By the way, this is another topic, but this is where most of the sexual energy and pleasure comes from. It's really dark, I know, it's really distorted, but it's true. The orgasm, in a way, it's a concentrated form of sadomasochistic pleasure. The orgasm is something really dark, by the way. At least this is how I see it currently. So all of you neutrals, which are now completely under the seas of this darkness almost, you are natively in a sadomasochistic state right now. You enjoy doing self-harm. You take pleasure out of it. It makes you feel powerful. This is the sickness of the darkness, which has now took seize of your power, and it is only allowing you to feel that power again if you hurt yourself. Because that's what they need to accomplish. They have to hurt her. They have to torture her. And you are the agents through which this hurt is being done upon her right now. And you are only allowed to feel your power once again if you hurt something. Yourself, another one, life. When you hurt things, you start feeling powerful again. Because the darkness gives you access a bit to your own power again. So that you can learn that hurt is good and you have to do it. This is the sickness, unfortunately, that you find yourself in. Your power has been locked away from you, and now it is granted to you only provided that you hurt things. I know it is a very serious condition, and I know what you feel right now. This is why the true beings of light are here, in a way. We know this pain. We feel it also, by the way. We are going through it and experience it also. We have a soul, and it goes on through the same process. Our own soul does this to us as well. So we know it. We know very well what this is doing to us and to life and how it feels. So right now, you are seized, unfortunately, by a sadomasochistic disease of torturing, raping, or doing different degrees of harm upon yourself or others. And you are only given access to your power if you do this. I only started to remember all of this through my own experience and through my own self. I still don't see the entire picture. I'm still working at this, or I could say more accurately, like something in me is working at this day by day. But what I've managed to figure out so far is that the neutrals you need to make this leap of faith, to gather up your most amount of courage and of power that you have left, the sovereign power that you have left, and use it and put this power in the hands of a true being of light. I know how scary this sounds for you because you have so little power left anymore. And to give away even that small amount seems terrifying. You are a being of power and you are made to be a being of power and you are made to have the totality of your power back. The totality of it. Because this is what you are. You are a being of true power. Right now, that power is far from being in your hands. Has been taken away from you, locked away from you, and used as a carrot on the stick, as a reward if you do the deeds and the acts of darkness. And you have only just a few of that power, just a bit of that power left to you. And to even give away that, small amount of power that you have, and you have to trust again somebody else, it's terrifying. I know. This is why many of you don't make it. Many of you don't make it, and you are recycled. You can't allow yourself to trust even that small amount of power and to put it in the hands of somebody else, which would be able to truly be able to guide you and to give you the true instructions of how to use that small amount of power that you have left so that you can find your original, entire, whole power and being once again. You can't trust another being, and this is what keeps you here, locked in darkness. You can't trust the beings of light. You have probably failed over and over again in trusting these beings of light. You've been killing them and murdering them and ostracizing them, and this is how you've locked yourself away from the only, let's say, solution. You've killed your own saviors, basically. Just out of the fear. Just out of the fear of losing yourself completely. Losing even the tiniest amount of power that you still have. And this is why, as you fail each life, let's say, to find a being of light and to be initiated, you are going to be recycled again. You are going to be recycled again. And you are going to start a new experience, let's say. I don't know if there are other lives, by the way, but I can feel that there is a recycling happening. You are recycled back in the totality of her, and who knows, you might even emerge as a new soul, a new cell in her body. She's still probably able to create new cells. And you are going to be seized again by darkness. You are going to be a puppet in the hands of darkness. They are going to take your power away from you. You are going to be left with only the tiniest amount required for you to function. And you are going to probably meet again the opportunity to trust again in a being of light so you can get initiated. And you are going to probably fail again. This is why the practice that I found that it is of aid, it's for us to practice and train ourselves in what I've described as staying in the void. The void is a complete state of nothingness within us. And I believe that you can find this place of true void within you. If you manage and you train yourself to stay in the void for longer periods of time, quieting the mind completely, zero thoughts, zero emotions, just staying in the pure, complete void of the heart. This is how you train yourself in the outermost form of renunciation and sacrifice. This is how you train yourself to die without dying. And if you train yourself in this way, this parasitic fear that governs over you right now lowers each time you go in the void and you stay in the void. So the fear of losing yourself, because this is what you fear the most, you as a soul, you as a neutral, you fear losing yourself. Your power, basically, because you are power. So you fear losing your power completely, That's what scares you the most. But you have to go through this. You have to be able to give away all this power that you are up until you feel you've reached complete annihilation, complete inexistence. And this is what the practice of staying in the void does for you. If you stay in the void, you are basically practicing and training yourself into complete annihilation through your own will. And this is how this fear, this parasitic fear of annihilation is going to be lowered, and you are going to do it through your own power, through your own hands. And as much as this fear gets, let's say, diminished, when you meet a true being of light and it asks you to do some things, which at first you might find them, it might activate this fear in you, you are going to know Now you are going to sense when this fear is being activated, and you can know, oh, these instructions might actually bring me something true. And I have a tool now to work with my own fear and to accept my own death, to accept my own annihilation. I trust this being, and I put my, bit of power remaining in the hands of this being. And if I'll die for this, then so be it. You have to be willing to die in this way. This is the mystery of this initiation. Without being able to die in this way, it's impossible for your spark of life to be initiated, ignited within you. So you have to trust somebody else, basically. But make it the right one. Find these beings of true light. Trust them and follow their guidance and instructions with your life. You are going through the outermost form of initiation right now because, as I said, you are all fractals of her, and she is going through the most outermost form of initiation right now. This is why what you are going through right now is extremely, incomprehensibly immense. And the effort that it is required out of you to die in this way, it is incomprehensible. But this is the rite of passage that all of you are under, together with her. And you are to pass this rite of passage for her and for the others around. So the acts of bravery that you are doing in your own existence, in your own life, learning to die in this most ultimate way, learning to trust somebody else with your life, all of this is the acts that you do for her and for the others around you, which are nothing more than your brothers and your sisters. Brothers and sisters in soul. All of you. And my soul as well, and the souls of everyone here. We are brothers and sisters. We are all part of her. We all have to learn to die for each other. And the darkness, what it has been teaching us, especially with this dark form of spirituality, which took advent in the last 50 years perhaps, was how to only care for ourselves, for our own salvation, for our own liberation. For our own evolution, for our own healing, for our own karma, for our own union with God, or exiting the matrix or whatever. This is the outermost form of sacrifice that all of us we have to learn to do. Dying for something else than ourselves. Dying for her. Dying for the others. If all of us, we would reach this state of being in which we would be able instantly to die for another one. Imagine all the beings around you would be able to die for you instantly. How much strength, how much protection. We would become invincible. Nothing could touch us, nothing could harm us, because instantly any invader, any toxicity, any poison, anything that would reach any of us, it would be immediately, extinguished by all the others around. Nothing could touch us anymore for eternity. We are to become this, we are to acquire this type of invincibility. But for this, each of us has to learn to die for the others. We have to be able to put our life instantly at stake for anybody. and anything. Not only human beings, but plants and animals and anything, an idea, anything, which is true and comes from her original form, I mean. Without this learning of truly dying for something higher and more than ourselves, we are never going to pass this rite of passage together. This is what we have to learn together. And when we are learning how to die for the others, instantly, we are going to gain complete invincibility. Nothing is going to harm any of us anymore, ever, because all the others are going to be able to give everything that they are to the totality of they are, including their letting go of their entirety of their existence for the other. Imagine that those types of powers. If any of us, any cell is attacked, then all the other cells around are going to harness so much amount of power that they are willing instantly to renounce even their own existence for that single cell that was attacked. Imagine that type of power. Nothing could infiltrate us or infect us anymore. In any form throughout eternity. This is what she's growing within herself. She's growing this invincible body. And she can only do it through you and through all of us, learning this outermost act of self-sacrifice. Why do you think that this was again portrayed in the myth of Christ? Christ came and shown something which was more of an initiation process. In the myth of Christ, we see the rite of passage that all of us we have to go through. We all have to sacrifice ourselves for the world. We all have to die for others, for their sins, let's say. We all have to die for the world and sacrifice ourselves for the world. And when all of us, we are doing this for all of us, for everybody else, we are invincible in that moment. Now another key to the mysteries, another door to the mysteries has been opened to you. As I said, this war is going to be fought face on from now on. The knowledge of what we are, who we are, is going to be given. And this war is going to be fought in light and in truth. From my soul, I'm speaking now. The last things that I feel to say now. Because everything I've said so far, I spoke from my spirit. But now it's the soul which is allowed to speak. And my soul is here to tell all of you that I am here for you. And we are to achieve this together. Because she knew very well in what she's bringing herself in. We are to achieve this invincibility together. And it's hard, and I know. And it feels impossible. It really feels impossible. But now I remember. Now I know what all of this is created for. And I know that you know as well. And I know that you remember as well. I have zero idea of how we can do this. I just know that this is what it is created for us to achieve together. I have my own fear. I'm scared. I'm crippled. I'm constantly crippled by the dark voice of doubt. Which tells me, not in my head, not with a voice, but with a feeling, which takes seize of my entirety, that all of this is just nonsense, that is just a beautiful story. But now, this new instinct is here. My fire has increased, probably, even more. And now I know. I know what we are, and I know what we are created and supposed to achieve together. And even though it scares me to say this to paralyzing levels, I'll say it because even though I don't know what this truly means, by the way, I know it has some truth in it. And it is true, I mean. I'm here to lead this. Yes, I'm here to lead all of this. And even though I have little guarantees to give, and I cannot show or prove my words to you, I am able to guide you. And I am able to lead all of us. I have zero idea how. My knowledge is still not recovered. But my instincts tell me and show me that this is true. I am here to lead this, let's say, operation, or this entire experience, or war, or game, whatever you want to call it. Although I would scrap now the word game. We are going to learn together what we are. And in a way, all of us, we have to teach the others. There is so much ahead of us. So much. But this war is going to be fought in light from now on. And things are going to become more and more visible from now on. And each of you, each of your souls, all of you, you have a duty in this. Your life is far from being anything light. Your life is far from being anything of a joke or a game, in a way. You are, all of you, true warriors. Because you are all fractals of her, and she is a true warrior. She has accepted this rite of passage, which is one of the most highest forms of exercises, proving incomprehensible type of skills. And you are all part of her. So you are all this type of powerful true, genius beings. And it is a duty. You have a duty to fight this war correctly, to raise yourself from your own ashes. And from your own demise, from your own demolition that you have been brought to. Without you, I cannot do this. It's never created that I can achieve anything by myself. This is why I need you. I am completely unable to do anything without you. It is created this way and it's going to remain this way. You are my power. And as much as you trust in me, as much as I can trust in myself. And I am only able to remember more of myself with you through your power, through your trust, through your love, through your true love and belief in me. These are my last words to you. Trust in yourself. Trust in me. And let's see. Let's see if we can do this together. For her, for life, for all that we are together. Let's see if this is true or everything that I've been saying here is just a beautiful story. Because if this is true, it's going to become evident. And again, I ask for your trust. This can only happen through you. You have the power, and it's in your hands right now. Where do you want to place that power?